Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing?
I'm good.
Good morning, Pablo.
Awesome. All right, let's just get to it. Happy Monday, 4th of July weekend. Let's have a good one. Uh, Weather's nice, hot and sunny. So I was just in Vegas this weekend on a small mortgage event. It was fun. It was out, it was great. Got a lot of information and very excited to be sharing this one with you guys because I just, got a reminder of how important it is in what we do, right? Part of our job or the main job is to pre-qualify borrowers, get their application, gather all their income and asset documentation, process all that information, get it, identify a lender that we're gonna submit it to, get it submitted, make sure the loan gets approved, make sure we get all the conditions, make sure we get the final approval, make sure that we get loan docs out, make sure. So there's a lot of different parts of the process that we have to go through to make sure that we not only do our job correctly, but we also deliver a great experience for our borrowers, right? And so this is what I'm going to be talking about today, and I'm going to kind of do it in a fast pace because there's a lot I want to cover, and I want to get a lot done within the hour, and I know that I can take up a lot of the time. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so here's the things that we're going to be covering, right? We're going to be covering initial contact, gather basic information about the client, name, contact details, income level, documentation, collection, and these are all the steps, right? Credit check, obtain authorization to pull credit. Now, if you're using our links on LendingPad or Blink, you're automatically getting authorizations. That's why I always like to use the links. And as I speak, I'm also going to give you pro tips so you guys remember certain things that you can be doing in shortcuts that I like to use. So one of them is if you want to get an authorization, always have the borrower complete the links, right? Because when they sign the links, they agree that you're going to be able to pull the credit so that you don't get in a situation where the borrower says, I didn't authorize you to pull my credit. You have something documented that proves and shows that you actually had the right to pull the credit, right? And by the way, verbal authorizations are okay. You can get that, but if you get a bar that's difficult, they might say that, oh, well, I didn't give you, excuse me, I didn't give you verbal authorization, right? And then you're going to come back and say, well, how did I get all your information? How did I get your name, social, and all that, right? So, and the reason I bring that up because me as a broker, when these situations come up, I'm the one that's involved in these situations, right? I just want to make sure you could see my screen with what I'm showing you guys here, the list of stuff. So
Yes, we could see it.
perfect. All right, so evaluation, next process, right? We want to analyze client's financial situation, income, debts, assets, and that's what we use a software for, which I'll be showcasing in a minute. To the point that we want to get to the pre-qualification, right? Make sure that they pre-qualify, and this is an important step because if we don't do this correctly, our reputation, our name is on the line. And one of the things that I learned early on in my career, and I'm talking back in 1999, 98, when I was original loan officer, I understood the importance of how important it was to make sure that I pre-approved my customers correctly because I mainly worked with purchase. I wasn't really a refinance loan officer. And the first time I got burnt, it wasn't a good feeling. So I never wanted to feel that again, meaning that I issued a pre-approval that I should not have issued, sent the customer shopping just for them to find out later on that they didn't really qualify, right? And I think we've all been there or we've all dealt with a situation like that, right? And that's really what we're trying to avoid as loan officers. We're trying to avoid situations where we're going to get ourselves in trouble. And on the other side, if we do a good job, then it's an opportunity for us to leave a good impression on people and also to grow our business. So this is probably the most important part of the process that we do as loan officers, making sure without a doubt that once you issue that pre-approval letter that the borrower can actually consummate the loan and get it closed, right? You issue the pre-approval letter, you communicate this with the borrowers, you do your follow-ups, review and submission, you go back and forth with the lender, get it approved. And by this stage, you already have your processor involved. You get to the final approval, closing preparations. And usually the last step that I do is I'll make sure that I get a copy of the settlement statement and I'll get it in front of the borrower before they sign loan docs, just to make sure that all the numbers are exactly how they want them, how I want them. because that gives me an opportunity to make any changes or fix anything before the loan docs are drawn. Because the last thing you want is you don't want to get a phone call at escrow saying, hey, the customers are not happy with these fees, or these numbers are not what you told them, or this interest rate is not what you agreed, right? You don't want to get those calls. So I usually like to knock that off the park right before they get docked, so that I have a peace of mind knowing that when the bars go to escrow, that the documents they're going to sign is exactly what they're expecting and what we talked about and what they agreed with me, and making sure, and it could be as simple as maybe they didn't want impounds and there's impounds now in there, right? Something like that. And that could cause a partial redraw, or maybe even a full redraw of the loan documents, right? Last tip that I like to do, and this is good, is you want to follow up with your customers. I always try to follow up with them even a month later, believe it or not, just to check to see if they moved in, everything's working, showing them that I care, making sure that everything worked out to their satisfaction. And then at that point, also asking for any referrals. Say, hey, keep me in mind for any referrals. I'm also going to put you in my future communications. You're going to be receiving emails from me about any new products, mortgage, or refinance opportunities or anything like that. So they're aware, right? And I'll put them on my CRM. In a nutshell, that's kind of what we do as loan officers in terms of the loan process, right? So what I want to do today, and I haven't done this in a while, is I want to actually just to complete a whole application with you guys, just so that you guys can see how I do it, and then share any tips along the way. And if anyone feels like they have anything to share along the way as well, feel free to do so. I don't mind any interaction or any ideas or anything that you're doing a little different that may help all of us, right? The system I was using for a long time was Calyx Point, and we recently migrated to LendingPad, which I'm enjoying. I really like it. Let me just put in the password here really quick. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take an application from scratch, right? It's been a minute since I've done this, so bear with me. But we're gonna go right here. We're gonna go to pipeline. This is where you're gonna start if you're gonna do a loan manually, right? And I don't know if you guys had an opportunity, because lately what I've been doing is I send out my link that you guys are aware of. Now, can you see I just changed screens. Can you guys see what I'm seeing, which is my LendingPad screen, or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. It's just I can't see what you guys are seeing, so I just want to make sure. All right, so I'm in LendingPad, and I'm gonna go right here where it says create a loan, and I'm gonna start creating a loan from there, right? And I'm just gonna make up a whole thing because I just want to walk through the whole process with you guys, and you guys can ask questions along the way. So what type of loan is this? Gonna be a loan, and we're gonna say create new loan, and we're just gonna go through here, right? This is gonna be under corporate, and we're just gonna plug away. I'm just gonna put myself, Pablo Martinez. Whoops. And bear with me if I'm going a little slow here, but just want to do this for you guys so you guys can see all the steps that I do. And we'll just put 777, and then we'll just put an address. All right. And then I like these little cheat sheets, because they, these little address cheat things, because it helps you just move along quicker, right? And make sure you get the address correctly as well. Property, is it attached or detached? If you guys don't know the difference between detached and attached, is it attached to a garage, right? In a single family residence, so it's detached garage. This one's actually attached, so we can leave it attached. It's a 1-unit property. We're not gonna put a second bar just for the sake of time. And we're gonna pretend that this is a, I guess we'll do a purchase, right? So we'll do a purchase, conventional. You don't have to really fill this out, but if you're gonna run DU, I guess you could put DU for now if you want. Primary residence. Let's say that you're trying to buy the house for $850. And we're gonna put 20% down. And I also want you guys to pay attention to how quickly you can do this manually as well, right? And we're gonna select the program. Let's say we're just gonna do a 30-year fix. I'm gonna go custom, and we're gonna put 360 months. And we're just gonna put a note rate of 6.5 for now, right? And then once we're done with that, we're gonna hit save. So now we're in the screen that we're all familiar with in LendingPad, right? If you're using LendingPad. And here's the part where, you start doing the cleanup job, right? So where you're gonna spend initially where you're gonna spend time is the bar most likely emailed you the documents. You're gonna go to your documents. We're gonna pretend for now that we uploaded some documents, they're in here. We looked at them and we're gonna go ahead and complete the application. So next thing you want to do is go to loan application. And
Pablo, may I ask you a question?
yeah, go ahead.
Can you pre-qualify the borrower without putting the property address? So
Yes,
you
you
don't
can.
want to trigger the disclosures?
Yeah, so
If
you
you
can.
don't,
So yeah, so what you can do is you can go in here and hit edit, and then you can just put like, what I should have done is 1, 2, 3, 4 TBD, right?
okay.
And the reason you have to put an address is so you can run the AUS, right? Because ultimately that's what we want to do, is we want to be able to get to a position where we can run the AUS, which is either Freddie Mac or LPA's, Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae system. So you want to have an address, but you're right. We don't want to trigger a disclosure period. So we want to put like a, a fake address in here. And especially if you're doing a pre-approval, right? And then you can do the AVM check here too. Like, you want to make sure that the value check is there. So I don't know if it took you to the next screen. If you guys saw that, are you guys seeing the Zillow screen? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And you guys have that tool there. Just remember that. But on the loan application part, it's very simple. If you haven't used the system yet, you're gonna go. It's basically step 1 is bars, right? And then you have the subcategories: personal information, addresses, employment, income, nearest living relative. And then the next thing you want to fill out is the asset and liabilities. Now, the liabilities you don't have to worry about, just, and I know most of probably know this, because that's going to auto-populate when you pull the credit report, right? And it's going to auto-populate right here in this area where it says liabilities. The area that you do want to complete is going to be the assets, right? So let's go back to bars really quick. And we want to put current address because that's not in here. We want to finish the application. So we're going to go in here and make sure that we're completing the applications. Certain areas have asterisks, which means that it's important that you need to have that, right? So one thing that we need to have here is the social. So we want to make sure we complete that. Date of birth. My date of birth is July 13th. It's coming up next week. If you guys want to send me gifts, my address is on my email address. I love tequila. No, I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you guys. But it is coming up. I am turning 51. No major plans. I got to figure out what I'm going to do. Anyhow, US citizen, unmarried, dependents. You can put your dependents, and this is important. If the person's married or not married, or you want to make sure you put what is correct, because if you leave it married and they're not married, then it can create a situation when you pull the credit, it's going to pull a joint credit report, right? So when I pull credits, I always like to go in here and make sure that this is correct, because sometimes a bar may not complete this correctly, and you might end up pulling 2 credit reports by accident. So make sure you ask this question, right? If it's unmarried or married, okay? Dependents, you can put, let's say they have a couple of kids, you can put the ages here. And believe it or not, a grandparent or a parent that they're taking care of can be a dependent also. And oftentimes what I like to do is I like to look at the tax returns and see who they are really reporting as a dependent. And I go off of that really, because that's who they're reporting right on their tax returns, right? So if they have a parent that's 64 years old and they're reporting, then you want to put the age there as well, right? Language of preference. This is good for the processing team or whoever's helping you with the bar, because they're going to know like which language they prefer to be in, right? Home phone number is always going to be usually the same as a cell phone number, right? Because we want to be able to get a hold of the bar right away. Once you get the work number, you want to plug that in as well. And it's good to have that so that it doesn't, you don't stall the file when they're trying to do verifications and all that, right? So this is pretty much for this area. We're done on this area. Next area here is going to be the address. So we're going to hit save. And then invalid age. Oh, I'm 73. All right, there we go. So we're going to hit save, and see that little pop-up that popped up here? So then it just auto corrected me, right? Next thing you want to just put the addresses, and this one has that address cheat thing too. So we're just going to put an address here, make it up. And then residence type, we're going to say that currently I rent. That's what I'm trying to buy. I'm paying, let's say 3,500 a month in rent, and I've been living here for 6 years. The only time you have to put additional address is when it's less than 2 years, right? So when it's less than 2 years, you have to put additional addresses to make up for the 2 years, because all the lender cares about is the previous 2 years. So I'm gonna hit save. And I just want you to pay attention how quickly you can get through all this, right? Next thing I'm gonna work on is income, or I'm sorry, employment, right? So let's click on that. Add new current employment. So then we're gonna say name Equity Smart. And we'll put that phone number in there, 258-4317. We're gonna say loan officer. And then email, of course. Email is very important. You need to have that in there, so that customer gets the disclosures and all that, right? Start date, same thing with employment. You want to make sure that the employment's covered for at least the last 2 years. They want to see at least the last 2 years, so make sure you have that covered. So for the sake of this, we're just gonna put that I started here in 2001, right? And then if I'm on a salary, I can click on here. I like to click on the calculators, especially their W-2 wage earner. And I like to put the hourly, right? So even if you look at a pay stub and their salary, hourly, whatever, try to just find out what the hourly is, right? So if I'm making, let's say I'm making $45 an hour, then I'm gonna put, and it turns out to be $7,800 a month. That's great, right? And then if I have overtime bonuses and all that, you want to make sure that you separate and you segregate all the overtime bonus. Don't lump everything together. It's important because when you run the AUS, it wants to know these things, and it's going to make a difference. It's going to make a huge difference. So make sure that you separate this. So let's say I have maybe, well, I'm not going to put that in there, right? But let's say I get an annual bonus of 15,000. I'm sorry. And I would have to break that down monthly, by the way. So let's say that at the end of the year, I get a $15,000 bonus. I would divide that by 12, and that's going to give me $1,250 per month of income, right? And let's say I also get commissions. I made 150,000 in commissions. Divide that by 12, and that's my 2-year average, right? Because I got to take a 2-year average. So that's another 12,500, right? So you want to make sure you break down all the income, overtime, anything else. Self-employed, I'm gonna put no just for the sake. I've been in the industry now, let's say 20 time of work, 26 years. And then we're gonna hit save, right? And that's it. I'm done for that that part of my employment. I already put the income in there. Nearest relative, I would only use this probably for like a reverse mortgage where you need to maybe talk to a relative, but not really sure I use this field at all. Military, income asset verification counseling. So I'm pretty much done here. The stuff that I really don't have to fill out, right? All right, so I already went through all these, right? So if you look at where it says at loan application bar, I went through all these items already. So the next thing I want to go over is over assets and liabilities. So assets, I'm gonna put in here, really quick, my assets, right? So let's say that I bank with Wells Fargo. And I always like to put the last 4 of the account number. I don't need to put the whole account number in there, so I'll just make one up. 677. And then you don't really need to put the bank address. And then just the cash value. And what you want to do is when you're taking the amount of the bank statement that you can use, or what the underwriter is going to use, it's gonna use the ending balance of the last statement, right? So we're in July right now, so we want to look at the last balance, the ending balance for the month of June, if it's available. So let's say that shows, let's say that shows 200,000, right? So we're gonna put 200,000. That was my ending balance. Now, if I have another account, with the same bank, I put Wells Fargo checking. I'm gonna add, let's say I have a savings account also. So then I want to put my savings account. It's with Wells Fargo. Then I'm gonna put that one ends maybe in 6755, right? And then I don't need to put the address. And then I have another 50,000 in there. Let's pretend. So now I have 250,000. And let's say I have a third account, right? Let's say I have one with let's see what we can see here. Like a money mutual market, maybe like a stock account, right? So we could put E-Trade. And that one, I put the last four of the account, 4587. And then we put a value of maybe 15,000, right? So you want to break everything down. That's the whole point I'm trying to make here. You want to break down everything. Some of this stuff you don't need. It doesn't matter to AUS, whether you put in the address and all that. This is the stuff you really need to know. The real stuff it really needs to know is just if it's a checking or savings and then the amount. This stuff is kind of additional, but it's good for you to stay organized and know exactly what type of assets you use when you're looking at the application. I'm the type of person, I like to look at, once I look at the application and I fix everything, and I put everything in, I don't want to revisit the application because I already did all the work. I already put in everything in there once. I've already analyzed the income and assets. So there's no reason for me to ever revisit the application. So I want to get it right the first time when I'm completing the application, because if I'm having to go back to my asset screen all the time, if I'm having to go back to all these other screens, and then it's a waste of time. So I just try to get everything done really well in one time, right? So I'm going to hit save. And now I have all my assets in there. The only thing that's missing that we're not going to get in here is the liabilities, but let's just say that they have a liability that wasn't on the credit report and you need to add something in really quick. You can add in like maybe child support, right? That maybe not, or alimony, that maybe that's not appearing on the credit. And I'm sure there's another section you could put it in, but you could put it in here as well. And I just want to show you this so that you show you really quick how you can hold on, let's see, maybe it is in here. Oh, there it is, alimony, right? And I'm paying, she was mean and I'm paying her, like, 20, let's say, 3,500 a month. No, that's little. Let's say she got me for 7,500 a month, right? And, that's maybe for another, at least for the next 20 years, right? So we'll put 120. And we're not going to omit it because we have to count it, and we're going to hit save changes, right? And just really quick, I just want to show you how quickly you can do things. I want you to see the speed of things here, right? Like how, we're taking an application from scratch, and this inquiry stuff is going to be filled. So on the asset, there's only these three things I have to worry about, right? When I go into REO, then I have to worry about if I own property. So let's say I do own a rental property, right? And there's only one thing I have to worry about in here, right? So let's say I own a fourplex. So we're gonna say multi-family more than four. Oh no, not that one. 2 to 4 unit property. I'm retaining it. It's not a primary residence. It's actually an investment, and it's worth, let's say, 1.2 million. And I only have a lien on it for 360,000. The lien, by the way, if it's on the credit report, you're going to be able to match the lien and also the mortgage payment, right? So the only thing I really would have to put is the taxes and insurance, because these two right here should auto populate once I match it with the credit report, right? So then the mortgage lien and the mortgage payment, those are going to stay blank until I match it. And the only other thing I have to put is my property taxes. So let's say I'm paying $850 a month in property taxes and and insurance. So let's say another $100 insurance. So it's $950 total. And then, obviously we're going to go on the Schedule E and look at what I reported in terms of gross rental income. So let's say that I reported 5,500, right? And because I own the property, I'm not buying it. I don't have to do 75% occupancy rate. I'm going to do 100%. The only time you would use 75% is if I'm purchasing the property and I'm using the existing rental income on that property that I'm purchasing. I would use 75% of that rental income to help me qualify. In this case, I'm using 100% because I went off of the Schedule E on the tax returns, and I deducted out all the expenses, and I came up with about that I'm reporting about $5,500. That's probably another class I need to do on the Schedule E so you guys understand how that works. All right, so I'm gonna hit save. And now I got my property in there. And keep in mind, I'm still on the loan application. I'm just going step by step here, nothing complicated, right? It'd be cool if maybe LendingPad had step 1, step 2, so that way you could, for someone newer, they could just follow along. So next thing I'm gonna go is to loan and property. I already have this in here because we filled it out in the overview screen. Last thing here is the declarations. And most systems now, they will auto populate what it thinks are the normal stuff here, right? Will you occupy the property? Yes. And then the rest of the stuff is like, have you had a bankruptcy? Do you owe anyone money? Blah, blah, blah. It's all gonna be no, so, but if you needed to change anything, you could just hit edit. And let's say that, are there any outstanding judgments against you? Let's just say I have a judgment, right? I could put it in here and then I could just write a quick explanation, right? So you wanna make sure you complete this. But it's gonna auto default all the bad stuff to no, like lawsuits, bankruptcy, delinquencies. It's all gonna be no. The one that's gonna be defaulted to yes is gonna be the occupancy. So hit save. So a lot of times you guys don't even visit this. I don't even visit this myself, right? Because it's this, most of the stuff the bars don't have, but if they do have something, you definitely want to make sure that you disclose it and you check that off, right? Last thing here is demographics, ethnicity. You know, technically they don't have to provide the information, but you know, I always like to do that. So you can put yes, information not provided, Hispanic, Mexican, gender, yes, male, and then race, white. Well, to be completed by financial institution was the ethnicity of the bar collected on the basis with visual observations. We're gonna say yes or no or whatever, and then you finish this portion of it. You hit save. And then pretty much you've completed like a lot of your application already, right? If you go on here, there's just a few more steps that we need to do to complete the actual application. We've already gone through everything on the application, so there's really nothing left to do here, right? So the next thing we want to do is we want to make sure we complete the PITI, because if you notice, we're missing the hazard insurance, we're missing the property tax, and we're missing the mortgage insurance. If someone could mute their mic, please. I think we're getting some background noise. So you want to make sure you complete your PITI. I think that's the only thing that's missing, because we already also put in the program that we're gonna do, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and hit edit so we can complete that PITI. Oops, maybe not right there. So we're gonna hit maybe this one right here. Yeah, here we go. All right, so we're gonna go right here to hazard insurance. And you know, hazard insurance is crazy right now. I think a lot of us are realizing that insurance companies are all over the place depending on the area of the home, especially in California. We're dealing with a lot of craziness. So normally what I do now is I try to get a quote from a broker. It's good to have a good insurance broker on your team so that you can get these instant quotes. But I would go as far as for a house that's worth $850, I would probably put like 200, maybe 250, just to be precautious, especially if you're on the pre-qual stage and you haven't done the work. Oh, it's better to overprice. Later on, I find out it was only $190 and I'm gonna be a lot happier, right? Now I'm gonna do that work, but right now we're just trying to put the application together to kind of see where the borrower qualifies, right? So we're gonna hit save. And then it's gonna auto-populate the 250 in here, right? As soon as we save the whole thing. Or actually, I think I just gotta type it in like that. And then for the property taxes, I like to hit the calculator right here. And then county property taxes, I like to go into the little calculator in here. And we wanna base it off of the purchase price, right? That's what the tax base is gonna be. And in California, it's 1.25%. And you wanna hit recalculate, you wanna hit yes, so that it automatically recalculates the payment. So we're gonna hit save. And the cool thing about doing it that way is that anytime you save the file, it'll, or if you make any changes to the sales price, it's gonna automatically change it's gonna adjust the property tax for you so that you don't have to worry about it, right? So I think in 15 minutes, we were able to complete a whole application, right? Obviously, we didn't analyze the income and all that. That would have taken a little bit more time, depending on the type of borrower, if they were self-employed or a W-2 wage earner. You know, it depends, right? Because we got to really break down the income. And that's really where you got to concentrate a lot of your energy and effort to make sure that you have the income right. And remember, it's not how you want to calculate it. It's how the underwriter is going to most likely calculate it. Now, with certain lenders like UWM and other lenders, they allow you to call the underwriter. I have AEs that I can call and say, hey, I got these income tax returns. Can you help me review them? You can call us. You have so many resources to help you analyze tax returns. If you're not comfortable, make sure you're comfortable. Make sure that you get clear. Spend the extra time, because it'll save you a lot of heartache and trouble later on if you don't do that part correctly, right? And now that we've done everything, let's assume that we've done everything correctly. We go over here to our summary page, our summary section here. And we can see everything that's important to the file, right? And one of the things that's going to be important is the DTI, right? And if we look at the debt to income, it's at 20/49, which should be good. And for this type of transaction with this type of FICO score, and everything I need to know is on here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and price my loan if I want to. Don't forget about this feature. You can price it on here. And I like to price it before I run the AUS, because the AUS, so at least I know what rate I'm looking at in today's market, right? So I'm going to go in here really quick, and I'm going to try to go correspondent with this one. So I'm going to go bar paid, because that's really what correspondent is, going bar paid. All the fields are already filled out. And then I'm going to hit, maybe we'll put this one at 1.0. This is how much you want to make, right? On the front and back. So we'll put 1, and we'll leave it like that. And just hit search. And by the way, you can do a whole class on this as well, on the lender pricer, if you want to get a little bit more familiar with it. But this is a great way to give yourself a great idea of what the rates are for this file for today, right? And you don't need to be exact, and you don't need to be perfect. And a pro tip for myself, when you're in the pre-qualification stage, and you're trying to quote a rate, you always want to give windows, because the bar is not going to get an interest rate until they actually get an offer accepted, right? And until they get that offer accepted, you cannot lock the rate or do anything, correct? So I always like to give windows. So let me go back in here. I'm not sure what happened. I think it like bugged out. So let's try it one more time. And I'm going to give you an idea of and I see that some of you are chatting some questions, and we'll go through them at the end. So let me try one more time. I kind of want to get an idea, right? I don't want to mislead the bar either and give him like the lowest rate, and I don't want to give him the highest rate either. I want to give him like a window. So, based on what I see right now, I try to just give them a window, especially right now, saying, hey, so for example, for me to be at par pricing, it's going to be somewhere, 7.25. Because I see that because Mega Capital is offering that, right? And these lenders are pretty close. It's not that far off. So then 7.3. So then I'm gonna tell the bar, you know what, this I feel comfortable that the rate's gonna be somewhere between 7.3 and 6.99, maybe even. I might say that, right? That's what you're looking at right now, right? Because they could still buy it down if they wanted to for a little bit, like half a point if they were to go with this lender. So between 7.3 and 7% is probably what I'm comfortable, maybe even saying 7.5, just to give a larger window. And so I'm going to close out here. I don't really need to study the rates, because that's irrelevant. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on rates right now when they don't even matter, right? I'm going to spend a lot more time on rates down the road once the offer is accepted. So I spend very little time on rates, especially on the pre-approval process. I just try to figure it out. So now that I kind of have an idea of what the rates are, I'm going to go in here and fix that really quick. And I'm going to go in somewhere in between, right? So I want to run the DU at 7.25, fix that, hit save. All right, and there you go. Now we pretty much have a complete application now. The only steps that are left now is to run the credit. So you'd go to actions, and you're gonna go to credit report. You're gonna hit send, right? We're gonna get the screen here. You're gonna select the credit report that you're gonna run. And if you want the bar to pay for it, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to right here where it says credit card information, and then make sure you input their credit card information in here, okay? Hit send request, and it'll charge the bar if you do it that way. If you want to pay
Is there a payment link for that to send to them, just in case?
You know what? Yeah, we're working on that, but for now we don't have one. We're trying to get them from the lenders. I mean, from the credit vendors. And I think that's a great idea, because you could just send out a link and they can just pay for it, right? And then if you want to pay for it, if you want to cover the cost, you can go to use my credentials, right? So then we run the credit. Let's pretend that it came in. The next step we're going to do is we're going to go to AUS, and we're going to, make sure that when you run AUS, you try to run both if you can, right? You're gonna run Fannie or Freddie. And then once you run the AUS, it's gonna come back, you're gonna get your findings, and you're either gonna get approved eligible or not eligible, right? And you're pretty much done with the process of pre-approving the borrower. From there, you can move on to, you know, doing if the bar asks you, okay, I want to know what my fees are looking at, then you want to start completing your fees. And it's also simple. It's not something that if you spend like maybe 30 minutes understanding how this works, you're going to be able to see that you can add all the fees in here. You guys are looking at the fee screen right now. Okay, and so you can add all the appraisal fee in here, right? You can add, you know, $875. You can add, let's say you want to charge, you know, 5,000 in origination fees. You know, let's say you have a title and escrow company that you work with, you can use Atlas. They have a calculator. So you want to calculate like escrow and title fees, you could put them in here. And all this stuff I would get from an escrow and title so that I can complete this in here, or I have an idea from past deals. And I used to always do it that way. I used to do it from past deals. Just have an idea of what it would cost, right? And I would go down the line and just complete everything here, hit save, excuse me, and make sure that it's at least ballpark. And it's okay to overinflate, especially when you're on the pre-qual stage, because you want them to have an idea of what it's going to look like, right? Then you go to fee worksheet summary. And if you want to change how much you're charging them, you can go back in here and say, okay, I'm only going to charge them 3,000 or 4,000, depending on the rate that you're going to sell them, right? And now you have your fee sheet that you can look in here. It's really nice. You know, I put mine with a picture, handsome picture, of course, fully filtered. And your contact information, all the information the borrower would want, a value, purchase, everything they need to know, how much funds they're going to need to close. And then very important is the PITI, right? So it gives them this, one little sheet gives them all the information that they need to be able to make a decision or help them decide whether they want to make the offer or not, right? Because they're going to be asking you, what's the payment? You know, what am I looking at in terms of down payment and closing costs? You're going to have to assist them with that. And if you get really good at filling this out, which doesn't take you a lot of time, and once you fill it out, it's going to apply for any scenario, right? So if you do this one, for example, if I put a flat fee of 5,000, but you can also do it a percentage, right? So you can do a percentage of the loan amount, right? So you can say loan amount, I'm always gonna charge them 2 points, and you can 2% and auto recalculate, but yes, right? And then hit save, and then it'll auto calculate the fees, because like if you're determined I'm gonna charge 2 points or 1.5 points or whatever your fee is, then use that feature so that no matter how you price it out, in case you go back into the main screen and you change the sales price and the loan amount, then it automatically does it for you. And then you hit save. And that way you're protected. You know that you're going to make the amount that you're looking to make, right? And in here, so you're going to have your disclosure there. You're going to have a pre-approval letter that you can use here. You could also email it out from here. And most likely they're going to ask you also for a copy of the credit report. You know, you just have to make sure you white out the social security number. If you do send that out, and make sure that the customer is okay with that, that you send over the FICO, you gotta ask if it's okay, because it's private information. And then I'll just show you this if you guys haven't seen this yet. Don't be afraid to use this little chat feature here in the bottom if you get stuck while you're putting this everything. But I've taken files from application, what I'm showing you guys now. And this is a pre-approval letter. It's kind of generic, nothing fancy, but if you're on the rush, you're on the go, you're able to put this together really quick. And I've been able to do all this in 10, 15 minutes fast and get this over to the agent, everything they need so that they can issue the pre-approval letter and everything, right? A couple of things I want to show you guys now. If you're doing an FHA loan, in order to finalize the DU, you're going to have to go right here where it says loan additional. And you're going to have to go to government data. Okay. And actually, it's going to be right here in this screen, right? So you're going to go hit edit right here. And the area you're looking for is you're going to look for where it states, let me see here. what I'm looking for is the area where you put in the lender information. So I'm gonna hit government data, or here it is. Okay, so you're gonna put, bear with me, it's been a minute since I've done it, but I just wanna make sure for you FHA, the ones that are doing FHA, you're making sure that you're putting the company ID in here, because if you don't put that in here, when you run the DU, you're gonna get an error. And let me see if it's down here. Anyone kind of can help me out here if they know exactly where it's at?
Pablo, I believe it should be under loan application. And
Uh-huh.
then go and edit on the,
No, I think it's gonna be under the government data, because it's
Sorry, Pablo, what are you looking for?
you know where when you run the DU and you're trying to input the lender ID information so you can run the DU, if you're familiar with that.
No,
I thought it was in
not
here.
that one. I don't think I've ever
If-
used that one, to be honest with you.
if you go to overview,
Okay,
then and it should give you the towards the right, at least in my on mine, it'll show the lender information to the right where you can hit edit.
right here. No.
I'm actually doing it on mine right now. Let's see.
All right. This one, wholesale lender information.
Because that's what you're trying to do, right? Go into there to,
You know, this is another feature too. I just found out about actually. You can actually put in, I think the lender, and it'll auto populate the stuff.
right.
Or you see the fees. It'll auto populate their fees if you want to do that too. So that's another cool little feature that I just learned about the other day. So like if you know you're gonna send it to Blue Point, you can actually send it there. But what I'm talking about is when you run DU, you have to for FHA loans, you have to put the lender
Yeah,
ID information.
I believe it's on your profile. You change it under your profile. Is that what you're looking for?
No,
Oh,
now we're all gonna be wondering, right?
too much.
I thought it was in here. Let me check in here. No, it's not gonna be in there. All right, well, I'll try to remember. I figured one of you guys on here would know. Let me see if it's right here. Anyhow, we'll get back to it. I'll figure it out. I'll get back to you guys on that. But just remember, there's and then on my SHL on the portal, we do have the IDs on there, so you can just pop them in here. And maybe if Denise, you're listening to the call on the background while you're doing that, I'm gonna move on so I could, because I need to move on. Show me so that I can show them before we finish the session, okay? All right, so the next thing I want to show you guys, okay, so I'm done here, right? So I'm pretty much done. I pre-approved the customer. Now I ran DU. I'm pretty much done. I don't really need to do anything else, right? So I'm gonna take it a step further because this is what I'm used to doing. And this is what I do on all my files. And I'm just gonna give you an example with UWM. And by no means are you obligated to send UWM any deals. It's up to you guys where you want to send them. I'm just going to use this for this example. I want to put that out there because I know everything's going to depend on what rate and what lender you want to work with, right? So what I like to do is I'm going to show you the next steps that I do. Like, so let's say that 2 months goes by, the borrower finds a house, they're ready to submit, and actually take it a step further before I give it to my underwriting team. And I want to share this with you guys as well, right? So I'm going to go to overview here, and I'm gonna go to actions. I'm gonna go to export loan because I'm gonna actually be the one submitting it, just registering it to United Wholesale Mortgage, just because I like to do that, right? So I'm gonna make sure it's a MISMO 3.4. And I'm gonna do that one more time because it's important. I'm gonna go to actions right here on the top. I'm gonna go to export loan. I'm gonna go to MISMO 3.4. I'm gonna hit export. And then I'm just gonna save it. So I'll save it right here on my desktop, I guess, and it's R014520 Pablo Martinez. I'm gonna hit save. And then I'm gonna open up a new window. Can you guys see the new window?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do.
Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure. So I'm gonna open up a new window, and this is gonna be United Wholesale Mortgage. And I take it this far before I even give it to underwriting, just so you guys know. Just because I like to have a peace of mind. And for me, honestly, it's a few more minutes, and hopefully I can do it in a few more minutes because I want to show you that these additional steps can go a long ways for you. And it makes it a lot easier to submit it to processing or whoever you're gonna work with, right? Because it's not that much harder, or there's not that much work you need to do. You've already done all the work. You've already put the deal together. You've already run the AUS. You've already done everything. All you're doing is getting the loan and putting it into United Wholesale Mortgage. So I'm in United Wholesale Mortgage. I made a decision that this is where I want to send the loan to, right? So I'm going to go to price a loan, and I'm going to go to import loans, right? So I'm going to import the loan in here. And then I'm just gonna, and what I love about UWM, this is if you're a newer loan officer. Are you guys there?
We lost the screen.
Yeah, I lost my
Black
screen too.
It's black.
Oh, there it goes. My computer's bugging out, and maybe I'm overworking it. All right, so we're back. I like for newer loan officers, you know, if you're newer, I like you guys using systems like United Wholesale Mortgage. And then later on, you know, I like to see you guys graduate to other lenders. Their systems are not going to be as good. It looks like this thing is stuck. Let me try one more time. And
Hey,
just because,
Pablo, while you log in for that, while
Yeah.
you're doing this, real quick, if you don't mind,
go ahead.
under UWM, it is so much easier using the UWM portal to import the file if you're using LendingPad. Like the IT team, RT team did something really cool that'll make things so much easier for the import with UWM. If you do that, that'll be much easier than downloading what you're doing right now. You'll bypassing a lot of steps.
You can just submit it directly, correct?
Yeah, directly, and it's awesome. It's a lot of time saving. You're going to save about 5 minutes here.
Yeah, I still want to show them how to do this
Yeah,
way.
I know.
But you're right. We do have a link that we can set you up. I think Martin, you're set up with it already, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I'm doing one after this meeting, actually.
Okay, cool. Maybe we should have used yours as an example. I'm just kidding.
I was ready.
I don't know what's happening here, but it says connection with server was lost. What the heck? All right, let's try one more time. All right, well, I'm waiting for that. I don't know what's going on there. Let me look at the chat here and see what questions we got. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but if you guys want to ask some questions in the meantime, I'm trying to figure this out.
I'll ask a quick question. So LenderPad is for folks that are, I guess, a little more seasoned. Is any of this, what you showed in LendingPad, like the credit report part and all that, also available in LenderPrice? Or is that a different?
No, you're talking about Blink. If you're on, so the other system we have you is on Blink, and it's the same. It's the same functionality. It's just different in places and in different areas. But the main thing I wanted to show you guys is just the workflow that you're gonna have when you're putting the applications together. And really wanted to show you this UWM thing that I do here, but I don't know what the heck's happening with the email here. And just show you how you can take a file from A to Z. But when you go inside Blink, things are going to be in a little different places, but you're going to have all the same, mostly all the same features, you know, with an exception of a few of them, right? But the most important thing you want to have is the ability to run the AUS, because at the end of the day, that's what the underwriters do, is they run the AUS, and that's how they're able to determine whether someone qualifies or not. And in essence, you guys, or we are as loan officers, we're really underwriters as well, because the fact that we have the access to the DU and the LPA allows us to underwrite the files and make sure that they actually work. So, you know, from the time you sent your application or you submit your file and submit it to the lender, all they're doing is redoing the calculations, making sure you use the right amount on the assets, making sure you calculate the income correctly. And they're gonna, if you didn't do that, they're gonna recalculate it, they're gonna rerun, right? The AUS, and it could change the findings to what you have, and that's where you can go wrong. But you have all the power right now in your fingertips to make sure that you get an accurate approval. And the point is, how are you gonna approach this, right? How are you gonna analyze the income? How are you gonna make sure that the income that you're using is correct? And those are the tools that are in your fingertips that allow you to be able to actually do that. Let me see if I can open up a different browser. I don't know what's going on here, but and that's why for me it's important to always get really strong and really familiar with the AUS and the underwriting, because it's going to help you make sure that you have strong approvals. Now, the only area that you're not going to be able to do this is going to be on non-QM private or loans that fall out of AUS, right? And you start to lose a little bit more control in those type of deals, because now it's going to be up to a person whether that loan can get approved or not. So in those type of situations, you want to make sure that number one, you've selected a good lender. And in some cases, the lenders, like I had one with fund loans, the lender's called fund loans, and it's a 12-month bank statement program. And we emailed the 12 months bank statements, and they'll help you determine what the income is. And I'm the type of person, I need to know exactly what can and cannot be used and what we need to use to make sure that these borrowers qualify, so that we're not sending them out shopping and they're wasting their time. So
Hey, Pablo, try typing in dashboard.uwm.com.
yeah, I just say that again.
Dashboard, DASH. Yeah, tab.
Yeah, I think something's wrong with my computer. I think it wants me to you know how it blacked out earlier when it did that blackout? Something happened. It's just not working the same anymore. Like it just bugged out. So I think it needs, like, I should have restarted it before I did sometimes I purposely restart my computer before I do these sessions, because
You should
just
get
to
an
avoid.
approval to get a new computer.
Yeah, I know. I need to upgrade. Maybe I'm overworking it. Anyhow, we're gonna go ahead and what I'll do is next week, I'll carve out some time so I could finish that part of it. It was only a few more minutes I want to show you, and then I'm gonna get the link too, so I can show you both ways of doing it. So if you want to get the link as well, so I owe you that, guys, for next week. I'll get it done, I promise you. But the most important thing that I wanted you guys to get out of here is the system itself. Super easy to use, as you can see. You can navigate through it quickly, and that was me doing it manually. Now imagine your borrower filling in the link. All you have to do is jump in there, whether you're using Blink or LendingPad, doesn't matter. You jump in there and you you start fine tuning the file, because the customer already filled a lot of things out for you. They've uploaded their income and asset information, and you're able to dissect everything. So, stress to them the importance of giving you a complete application and submitting, all the pay stubs, the W-2s, and everything you need so that you can do your job properly and accurately and quickly, right? And you'll be able to do these approvals super fast. I mean, you could spit them out. There shouldn't be no reason why you're taking a long time, especially when it comes to, and keep in mind, you can do this with VA loans. You can do this with FHA loans. You can do this with conventional jumbo loans. A lot of loans are going to fall under this category of being able to run the AUS. And whenever you have the opportunity and the ability to make sure you run the AUS. Don't leave that in anyone's hands. If you're a career loan officer like myself and like most of you guys on this call, make sure that you become an expert on AUS. It's one of the most important things that you can become, because that's going to help you just become a strong loan officer. With that, I'll end. It's almost 2:00. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I think this is the first time I had something like this happen. I'll get back to you guys on the last part of the session. So we'll bookmark that part of it, and then I'll talk about the next thing I want to go over for next week. But and then jot down any questions that you have of the application, because I know that I rarely do the application process, because I assume that a lot of you guys know, and I just want to make sure you guys are comfortable with it. And just reminder how easy that part of it is, to do. Gathering all the information and putting it, running credit, all that stuff's fairly easy to do. The hard part is going to be the income analysis part, right? So, all right. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful 4th of July and celebrate, have fun, and be safe.